I'm going to show you how a professional golfer sets up the perfect putting session to dial in his putting. So today I brought quite a fancy setup for you guys here, but there's thought behind everything here, and you're going to follow me as I set up the last part of it here and explain what is this setup about. We've got a putting mirror here from Short Game Gains and a chalk line with a ghost hole to make sure that I dial in my stroke, that my eyes are straight over the ball, that my setup is exactly the way I want it, and to make sure that I hit the sweet spot of the putt and roll these things pure. Next up, we've got a putting string here, and we've got tees as gates for the putter, and we've got 2 gates for the ball as well, going in both directions. We've got a slope here. This is the way it's sloping, so we've got a left to right, we've got a right to left, and we've got a straight uphill putt. This is crucial to this putting session, because we're going to be dialing in our stroke, making sure our setup is good in a flat putt, and we're going to make sure our setup is good when we got the ball above our feet and when we got the ball below our feet. And now I'm going to show you exactly how this session works. Now, I've got all these fancy tools here, but most of them can actually be replaced with tees. I prefer it like this. I got the mirror to see exactly where my eyes are, and these gates are just kind of preset to a good distance that I like in the ghost holes. If you want any of this stuff, go to shortgamegains.com and check out their stuff. That's where I got all my stuff from. Frederick and Hannah, who founded Short Game Gains, are the best. And if you want some good stuff to improve your short game, make sure you check it out. So starting out with the mirror, the first thing I do is I roll a couple balls here up and down what I think is a fairly straight putt. Flat, could be a little bit downhill, could be a little bit uphill like it is in this case. The main thing here is that we set it up fairly straight. We set it up on flat ground because we got a mirror, so if we set it up in a slope, our eye line's going to be off. But the big thing here is just a fairly straight putt, and then we're going to be practicing our start line. Just rolling a few putts, making sure that we're comfortable getting the ball out on our intended line. Just like that. And once we feel comfortable here, then we can start moving into these other stations. Like I said, we got a left to righter and we got a right to lefter. The setup here is quite important. I've got a chalk pen here. The first thing I do is I lay out the putting string to see how long it is, and then I take my chalk pen here and I make 2 dots kind of 2-3 feet away from the ends. Then after that, I set up the putting string on one end and the other so they're exactly above these 2 points. That's where we're going to be placing the balls. This is hugely important because I have seen some people use putting strings and they just kind of set it up, and then they have a tendency to have the ball outside or inside their eye line. And really all they're doing is just kind of enhancing these bad tendencies that they're trying to actually get rid of with the putting string. So very important, we have some sort of reference point so we know that when we have the ball on this white point and we're setting up, we are right above it. And after that, just like we did with the mirror, but here we kind of got to do it more manually, we set up our tees for the putter, making sure that we're always hitting the sweet spot, and then we set up the putting gate about a foot down the line, giving you enough space to have a follow through there with your putter. After that is when we take this practice to the next level. I've got 2 more ghost holes here. As you'll notice, we're not actually using any actual holes here. We got these ghost holes, which makes us just way more flexible in this sense, because if we're using real golf holes and we're trying to set this up, this can be a hugely tedious process. We want it to be somewhat fast, even though there's some setup time to this. So what I'm going to do with these 2 ghost holes is we're going to go from both directions here, and we're going to set out the holes here to practice our touch at the same time as we're practicing our start. So you can start this in 2 ways. One, you can just kind of start hitting some putts through the gates, or you can do the way I prefer, and you actually read the putt and visualize. I usually have in my mind that I want the hole that I put to be 2 feet short of the gate on the other side. So it would be somewhere over here, and then I'd put this ghost hole down, read the putt. My goal here is to put the ball about 1 foot past, so I have that in mind here, and then I read the putt until I'm happy, move it into a slot where I want it, and I start hitting putts to see, can I match where the hole is, hitting it 1 foot past. Then I've done a really good read. And the big advantage here that we're using these silicone holes from Short Game Gains is we can move them constantly. We're not locked into one place, so we're very flexible with our setup here. So we're gonna do the same for the other side. Go about 2 feet short, put this thing down, and then we're gonna start hitting putts. And we're going to adjust until we feel like, okay, it's in a good spot now like that, just high, went just about a foot by. And so then I can adjust this. I can see, okay, it needs to be a little bit higher to match this pace, because that was good pace. Do the same thing from the other side. See, okay, yeah, that one would have gone in, but the pace was a little bit soft. I think that's actually in a really good spot right away there at the gate. That a little bit harder. Let's see, that went a little bit more than a foot by. Obviously, it was high, about a foot and a half by. So I would actually say that this one is a little bit low too. So I'm gonna adjust it a little bit. And that's how we're gonna move about here, hitting putts from both directions. I have 3 balls here, so I usually hit 3 balls from one location, then I move to the next location. This is the great thing about this setup. We've got 3 stations. We got a straight putt, we got a left to right putt, and we got a right to left putt. On all 3 stations, we have check marks. Our eyes straight over the ball. I know for a fact that my tendency used to be, when I have the ball above my feet, I used to line up with my eyes inside the ball. So I used to have the ball outside my eye line. And then when it was the left to right putt, ball was below my feet, I used to do the exact opposite. So I was changing all the time where my eyes were, and I had no idea. Then when I started addressing this, I actually started becoming way more consistent with starting my ball well. It felt a little bit odd in the beginning, but over time this has really paid off and made me a lot more consistent with starting the ball straight. So once we're dialed in here, we start rotating 1 putt from each location, never hitting 2 putts from the same location twice in a row. This is gonna practice our start line. It's gonna make sure our setup is good at the same time. We get to practice green reading, and we get to practice pace. It's a complete session without using a single actual golf hole. If you set this up in a good manner, I promise it's gonna help your putting, and it's gonna take your putting practice to the next level. It's a little bit more advanced this session, but I hope you appreciated it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.